Hello and welcome to the Breeders' Cup Monster Pod 2021 Saturday edition. 7 more races to go, including a few important ones. And we've got it all covered for you. 7 great guests coming up. You saw them in the description. I don't need to list them again here at the beginning of the show. Very, very pleased, as with the Friday show, as to how this turned out. If you are coming to this from some social media link and like, hey, where are the first 2 races for Saturday? They're at the end of the Friday show. Go check that out as well. And then you'll have all 9 of the Saturday races and all 14 Breeders' Cup races taken care of. Without further ado, let's dive in with our first guest. Very happy to welcome in another accomplished author of handicapping books and somebody whose work I have had the pleasure of reading for years and have learned so much from due to his sharp opinions from Daily Racing Form. Brad Free. Brad, how are things?
Hey, Pete, I'm doing great. Looking forward to the Breeders' Cup out here in California next week. So lots of wagering opportunities to dive into. Looking forward to it.
How many Breeders' Cups have you been to in person?
Oh, gosh. But if I tell you that, if I answer that, you're going to know how old I am. So let me just say this. One of the funnest days I've ever had at the Breeders' Cup was in 1993 when I was in a position going into the Classic, the Breeders' Cup Classic. I was in the position where there was only one possible horse that could beat me for a lot of money. So I loaded up on that horse. And lo and behold, Jerry Bailey gave one of his all-time great rides, and I will forever remember our Kong winning the Breeders' Cup Classic in 1993 and give me bragging rights for the end of eternity. I bet the highest price winner in Breeders' Cup history, 133-1.
That's fantastic. Oh, that's a great story. I had the pleasure of speaking to Jerry recently about our Kong and that day, and that's amazing that you ended up on the right side of it. But you know better than this. You can't leave out one at the end of your pick bets. That's something Jonathan Kinchin would do.
Well, no, it actually wasn't a pick in bet. I was in a pool. And there was only one horse, and the pool was worth a lot of money. I want to say, $5,000 or something. And that was the only horse that could have knocked me out. So I saved in that regard. And I ended up tying for the pool. Instead of $5K, I got back $2,500 plus the win bet. I actually bet to place on our Kong as well. So a little win and place bet on 133-1 shot, which was very, very cool.
I do not think we're going to see any Arkong-like prices in this year's Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, which goes as race number 6 on Saturday. You're going to have a big favorite in here in Life is Good. Are you with him or against him?
Well, I'm leaning toward him right now. I mean, this is a race. There are certain races that are kind of lend themselves to chaos. I don't think that this is one of them. I know that, a couple years ago, Spun to Run paid $20. He was coming in off a giant win at Parks with a huge figure. And if you believed the figure, you could bet him at 9-1. 4 years ago at Del Mar, Battle of Midway came into Del Mar in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile off a tough trip at Remington. And I thought he was a horse that had a chance to maybe outrun his price. And lo and behold, he did. And Battle of Midway paid $30.40. I don't see that happening this year. There were 11 pre-entrants. I think that we're going to end up with a field of 9. And to me, there's 3 horses in here who can win. Life is Good, who I have pegged as the 8-5 favorite on the Daily Racing Form early line. Silver State, winner of the Met Mile, and the horse for course gelding Ginobili. I think the race kind of revolves around those 3 horses. And I'm leaning toward the 2 horses with speed, those being Life is Good and Ginobili. 1 mile dirt races in fall at Del Mar are largely dominated by front-running horses. In fact, the last 4 autumn seasons, Pete, 72% of every mile dirt race was won by a horse positioned first or second at the quarter pole. So if you're not in contention, turning for home, you can forget about it. It's just one of those, and these are fast horses too. Life is Good and Ginobili, both fast horses. If they stay out of each other's way, I can almost see them making this a parade. The fact that Life is Good is going to be such a short price, I might lean the other way just because I can get a higher odds on Ginobili, who is a serious contender in this race. And if those two do duke it out, look, Life is Good and Ginobili, well, then Silver State, what's wrong with him? Nothing. He can come and nail them both. I just don't see a crazy upsetter in this race. Snapper Sinclair is a warrior. He actually ran in the juvenile turf race 4 years ago at Del Mar, and he's still banging away at age 6. I have nothing but respect for him. I'm just not sure if he is as good as those 3 favorites.
How great a story would that be, though, making your second Breeders' Cup start at the Del Mar venue? I'm assuming that's a group of 1 there for Snapper Sinclair. But it sure sounds like in terms of your pick and bets this time around, you're just going to have those 3 numbers in various combinations.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'd love to be creative and come up with a price, but I'm not going to, land on a price just for the sake of throwing a long shot in if I think that those 3 horses cover the race. Again, if Ginobili goes off in the 7-2, 4-1 range, which he might, because you look at his form, what's he done? He won a 1 other than at Del Mar, and he won a grade 2 sprint over a modest group of sprinters in California. Those bullet workouts at San Luis Rey Downs kind of jump off the page, but I still think we might be able to get some value out of Ginobili. If he starts as the 3rd betting favorite, as I expect, he might be worth a straight bet in that 7-2 type of range. But look, Life is Good he's a tiger. I mean, he was Bob Baffert's top Derby hopeful early this year. He got hurt. He changed barns. He went back to the Pletcher stable. To me, the best race of Life is Good's career was the only time he lost, when he dueled in the Jerkins, and he went fast on the front end, 44 flat, and just got nailed by a neck to none other than Jackie's Warrior. So Life is Good is good, and he's fast and he's speed. And if he goes to the lead, Ginobili sits second. Like I said, it might just be a parade between 2 of the shorter priced horses in the dirt mile.
Great thoughts on race design. I love that stat you dropped. I know you're involved in the coverage over at drf.com and their Breeders' Cup package. Folks can go there to check out much more. What else are they going to find specifically from you over as part of the DRF Breeders' Cup coverage?
Well, we have a full graded handicap for the Saturday card. David Aragona does the Friday races, all 5 Breeders' Cup races on Friday. I've done all 9 Breeders' Cup races on Saturday, and that full grade with odds and comments is now available at drf.com. Next week, we'll have expanded coverage. Obviously, we're going to, dive into some of the wagering opportunities that will be available, and expanded analysis, full coverage by our staff at Del Mar. So looking forward to seeing some of the guys that I only get to see maybe once or twice a year, some of my colleagues from the East Coast out here in California. And I love it when the Breeders' Cup is right in our backyard. I don't have to drive very far.
Not too bad. And those of us coming from afar, we don't mind a little Southern California sunshine either. I look forward to seeing you in it, my friend. Brad Free, thank you so much for your time today.
You bet, Pete. Anytime.
You know, it's a cool way to support In the Money Media. Buy some of our merch. You can check it out, done in partnership with our friends at oldsmokeclothing.com, including this Degenerate Horse Player t-shirt that I'm wearing right now. InTheMoneyPodcast.com/oldsmoke will get you the link with the stuff that we have on there, the one-time shirt, the chalk-eating weasel, JK's favorite. I love the DG Horse Player. Our best seller is I'm Alive in the Pick 5. And then we've got the Badge of Honor t-shirts where you can show your support for the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. They come with a donation to TRF baked right in, and people will know you've scored out and wanted to give back. So that's kind of a cool thing as well. Should have more stuff coming soon. Also over at Old Smoke, there's the JK collection. You can go to oldsmokeclothing.com/JK to check that stuff out. Lots of good stuff. Love the Old Smoke merch, and we think you will too. That link, once again, InTheMoneyPodcast.com/oldsmoke. Next up in the show, very happy to bring in one of my favorite handicapping authors and just people in general to talk about racing with. If you're just listening to the audio of this, you're missing out on a treat, the Julie Crone button on his sweater. He is Mark Cramer. Mark Cramer, how are things?
Hey, Pete. Great to be here.
I mentioned about you being a handicapping author. Of course, you've just re-released your book, Hold All Tickets. We're going to be doing a whole show about that once we get to racing doesn't really have an off season, but the closest thing we have to an off season post Breeders' Cup, we'll do a big chat. But how is the publishing business going for you?
Well, I'd like to let everybody know, not only for the book, Please Hold All Tickets, which you can get on Amazon, but that I'm alive, because right now, 3 of my out-of-print books are selling for $950 because they think I'm a dead man. Please hold all tickets. It's only $22 on Amazon, but people like me more dead than alive. Well, I'm telling you, I'm still here. And in fact, I'm 12,000 feet above sea level, gaining red blood cells, gaining hemoglobin strength, legally doped to be able to come up with some winners in the Breeders' Cup.
Oh, that's fantastic. You're here to talk about the filly and mare turf. When I asked you about doing a race, you picked this one without hesitation. Why is that?
Well, because there are 2 horses in here who have beat the boys in the past. And we have a favorite, Warlike Goddess, who's a great horse, won the Flower Bowl. But if you look at the class level of the horses that she beat, it doesn't compare with the horses that Teona and Loves Only You have defeated. So it's a way of betting against the favorite here.
Very interesting. Now, Teona has her first preference listed as the turf, is cross-entered into here. I'm not sure I'm seeing much reason why she's going to pick this spot over the turf. Are you hearing anything to that effect, or is this more, if she turns up here, pay attention? What's your case on her? Would you like her in a race like the turf?
Well, you know what? In the turf, I would like her, but the competition is tougher. And I'm thinking they bypass the Arc de Triomphe, which would be equivalent to the Breeders' Cup turf, because of the footing, too heavy. And I don't know. I even though their preference is the turf, I'm thinking that they may go into against fillies and mares.
You mentioned also Loves Only You, Japanese contender. What a story that would be. And what's your case for her?
Okay, well, first of all, the case for Teona, even if she goes into turf, is that she won the Prix Vermeil. And if you watch the replays, because that's what I based myself on, the replays, you'll see that she won in spite of having been forced to do some tough lane changes. And she finished against 2 good horses, 2 good fillies and mares, Snowfall and La Jaconde. And I like the fact that they were willing to forego the Arc de Triomphe and shoot toward a faster, firmer surface. So even if she goes into turf, she's a contender. Loves Only You comes from what I think is the most exciting and perhaps the classiest race of the year, the Shima Classic in Dubai. And note that if you watch that race, I invite all of you just to go to YouTube and watch the Shima Classic 2021, that Loves Only You is tough, tough, tough. She will not give up, and even in a crowd, she barrels through. And this is important to show that the character of this horse. Now, she did win recently a Group 1 race in Japan, but that wasn't as exciting or as meaningful as the Shima. That was just a prep. She finished only 1/2 length in Shima Classic, only 1/2 length behind Mishrif. Mishrif is a great horse. And if you just by comparison, the Aidan O'Brien horse, Love, what a pretentious name for a horse, Love. God, I can't bet on a horse like that. Love finished 6.5 lengths behind Mishrif. So we have Loves Only You finishing 1/2 length behind Mishrif, Love finishing 6.5 lengths behind Mishrif, and Loves Only You also, all the boys finished behind her. And that would include some names that we would recognize, which
I'll interject, Mark. I'll interject for a minute that if anybody from Coolmore, Ashford Stud are considering sponsoring us over here, the views of Mark Cramer about the name Love do not necessarily represent those of the In the Money Players podcast. I'll filibuster for a second while you look up the form of that race. But I mean, it's clear to see your enthusiasm for the likes of Love's Only You or Teona in the spot, and I'm impressed that they get billing over the likes of last year's winner Audaria, who I'm going to ask you about, and then I'm also going to ask you about a couple others before we let you get out of here.
Yeah, the fourth finisher who was left in the wake in Ashima, excuse me if I forget a name, I'm 76 years old, so Walton Street, who just won in Canada. Did I get the name right, Pete?
You nailed it.
Right. Well, that horse didn't know what happened to him when Love's Only You and two others just passed by him. And there we have Love's Only You beating the males, some males. And the Japanese have had extraordinarily bad luck in a lot of these races. Chronogenesis would have been a major player in the Arc de Triomphe, still ran great, except that hated the footing. Love's Only You will love this footing, and she prefers it. So I think we got a good overlay with Love's Only You.
Let's talk about Audaria for a minute. Last year's winner. You think this is just a stronger group?
Okay. I looked hard at Audaria, trying to make her a third top pick. But I think she's a notch less this year. And the distance is longer, and she's not proven over this distance. Now, the trainer says that she's a closer and she can catch them. But, I just think that Audaria is not the same horse as last time. And so it's worth betting against. She'll get a lot of bets because she won the race last year.
You mentioned La Joconde. She shows up here as well. Does she go with a chance?
I don't think she has the credentials to keep up with them. She's a great filly, but I don't think she's going to keep up. And she may have an impact in the early part of the race.
Got to ask about Chad Brown, the success he's had, particularly on turf, particularly with fillies. He's got a pair here in My Sister Nat and Pocket Square. Anything for the home team you think that might be able to hang with these top European invaders?
Well, the home team, Chad Brown is maybe like a European trainer. I wish he'd bring a horse to the Arc de Triomphe sometime. But I just think that these horses have not been beaten the same level of competition that the Japanese and the Euro horses beaten. There is a horse is Going to Vegas still entered.
Yep, Going to Vegas looks to be heading here.
Yeah. Now, granted that Going to Vegas in the Grade 1 Rodeo Drive did not really beat legitimate Grade 1 horses there. So what do? There's a class problem. However, Going to Vegas loves the Del Mar strip and knows the tight turns that some of the Euro horses may not know. So, it's a horse that could get into Superfecta or into one of the exotics.
Rougier, that's another name that I wanted to ask you about, a French bred. What can you tell us about this runner?
Yeah, normally I would love a horse like Rougier, winner of the Opera, but Rougier won on a heavy track. And Rougier, if you look at the previous races, like I do on YouTube, I just watch these races again and again, does not have the type of tactical or early speed that Euro horses need to have when they come to America. So it's sort of a negative situation, whereas Euro horses that have tactical or early speed and may be going against the bias in Europe, they come to America and they fit in culturally. So I think that I'm going to bet against Rougier.
The other interesting note in this race, and before I let you go, was to see that Tarnawa was cross-entered in this spot. I can't imagine them choosing this over the chance to repeat in the turf, but I suppose I'm only stating the obvious when I say that if she does for some reason, she's going to probably take a lot of beating, but it would be such a sign of no confidence that I really wouldn't know what to do, honestly.
Yeah, Tarnawa is amazing. And if Teona she's going to be in the turf. I'm sure. And you're right. If she comes in here slumming, then then the owners have a lack of confidence. It would be really exciting to see Teona run against Tarnawa. There is a alliteration there between Teona and Tarnawa. So somewhere they're going to come close to each other.
He comes here. He talks about legal doping. He's got his Julie Crown pin. He's making references to literary devices. Many of the reasons why we love Mark Cramer. Thank you for your thoughts on the Philly and Mare Turf, and we're going to have you back on these airwaves soon to talk all about Hold All tickets available now at Amazon.com.
Great, Pete. Thanks a lot for having me. Bye-bye.
Next up to talk about the Breeders' Cup Sprint, we bring back to the In the Money airwaves. We meant to have her part of our Derby and Oaks Monster Pods earlier in the year, but in the lovely way these things happen, both runners she was assigned ended up scratching, so we didn't get to do that. But we've got her here now. You know her work on TVG. You know her work on NBC. She's one of my favorite broadcasters. She's Britney Eurton. How are things?
Things are good. Gosh, I hope that doesn't mean anything for me covering certain horses in the sprint that they're going to scratch. But thanks for having me again. It is always an absolute pleasure to be with you, Peter.
Well, you're very kind. Let's talk about the big horse, as I'm going to refer to him first. I think Gamine is probably going to be the shortest favorite on the 2 days, but there is a horse in here who's going to be an overwhelming favorite in the form of Jackie's Warrior. Are you with him or against him?
You have to be with him. Are you kidding me? I don't see him losing, to be quite honest. He has been remarkable this year, impeccably handled by Steve Asmussen. Just the races that he's chosen this year to run in, especially that prep race in the Gallant Bob, which was basically a paid workout, seems to set him up perfectly for Del Mar. And what I love about Steve Asmussen is if it's on the West Coast, he's going to bring his horses out early, get them acclimated as soon as they possibly can to California. So they've been at Santa Anita working. He's going to ship down to Del Mar as well. So I think that really gives them an edge because as we know, Santa Anita and Del Mar, they can both be somewhat quirky tracks in terms of you either love them or you hate them. So Jackie's Warrior has had plenty of time to acclimate to Southern California. And he's been so dominant this year, 4 for 6. And honestly, it's a great story as well. I'm not sure that Jackie's Warrior, the story behind the name has gotten a ton of press, but Jackie's Warrior was named by her breeders, Jenny and John Williams. So they have J&J Stables to honor Jenny's sister, Jackie Ross, who is a brain cancer survivor in remission. So that in and of itself makes this horse easy to root for. The owners obviously didn't change the name and so glad they didn't because look at what this horse has done.
That's fantastic. I didn't know that. And another little layer to the story. In terms of tactics, as a Jackie's Warrior fan, what do you want to see? Do you just want to see him blitz this group right from gate to wire, or do you have other tactics in mind?
As you would expect for a sprint race, there's going to be a lot of speed, but what I've seen from Jackie's Warrior before, he can sit off of it. I think he is better just letting him roll and saying, come catch me. This was something I was talking with one of my colleagues, Caleb Keller, about earlier, and he thought that, okay, you may think that Del Mar is a speed biased track. But if you look back in 2017, there have been horses that came from off of it. I know Gun Runner didn't. He was a part of the pace. But just from knowing Del Mar and watching Del Mar, I do think it will be a fair track. But if you have a horse as talented as Jackie's Warrior, as fast as Jackie's Warrior, why would you take any of that away from him? So I say go.
Take no prisoners. Who do you think might be the biggest threat to Jackie's Warrior in this year's sprint?
A horse that knows Southern California well, and that would be Dr. Shibble, another 3-year-old. How about those 3-year-olds, by the way? I mean, come on. This crop has been so much fun to watch. But Dr. Shibble has been a really interesting horse, talented from the beginning. He was a Grade 1 winner at 2. They gave him time off, didn't run in the Breeders' Cup, and now he gets his opportunity to do so. Multiple Grade 1 winner at Del Mar, and I think that that's saying something. The Santa Anita Sprint Championship was really impressive. I know people have already heard this story before. Flavien Prat guided him home with only 1 rein. He didn't have his outside rein, so incredible sportsmanship by Flavien Prat to be able to not only guide him home safely, but guide him home victorious. And he showed a new dimension there. I think it really for Flabby and Pratt, he can sit wherever he wants to be. He's not necessarily as quick as Jackie's Warrior, but he doesn't necessarily need to be because he can sit off of it. So I think that's a talented horse that has proven he loves Del Mar.
CZ Rocket has a form in this race from the past, this very tough 7-year-old. Any chance of a Glory Days run from him?
He shows up, doesn't he? I mean, he's ultra consistent. I'm just not sure if he's the horse that he once was when he rattled off that incredible win streak. He had an impressive performance in the Breeders' Cup Sprint last year, but what I've spoken a lot to Peter Miller and Florent Giroux about is he needs the perfect pace setup. Will he get it in the sprint? He very well could, but is he at the level of, say, Jackie's Warrior right now? I don't think so.
What about a runner like Lexitonian? My eyes always
love
drawn. When I see horses that win at big prices, I'm tempted to keep on side and maybe some combination just because of what he's shown the ability to overcome circumstances where he was seemingly outclassed before. How much do you like him?
I think that he's a horse that you can't trust because you never really know what he's going to show up and do. In the Forego, he didn't show up at all. He wasn't a part of the pace, which he likes to be, but you do look back in his running lines and he likes Del Mar. He almost and probably should have won the Grade 1 Being Crosby last year. He was well out of it early and came flying late just to be beaten a nose for the entire thing. So yes, a horse that likes the track, a horse that's well-traveled, and a horse that can pop at a big price. You just don't know what you're going to get from him, but he seems like an in and out type of horse. So one race is bad, one race is good. If he's on that trend, perhaps the Breeders' Cup Sprint is his good race.
I'm going to be really centering most things around Jackie's Warrior, but I do have an inclination at least to leave a little bit of room, a penny as it were, for a horse like that. Who else in here do you like to potentially fill out the underneath spots in the trifecta?
Well, they say there's no sure thing in horse racing, right? So as much as I love Jackie's Warrior, and I really do not think anyone's beating him, yes, there are other horses worth including, as mentioned, Dr. Shivel. But how about Special Reserve? I was very impressed with his victory in the Grade 2 Phoenix. For Mike Maker, we know this well. He claims a horse for $40,000 and turns them into a multiple graded stakes winner. How about a Breeders' Cup Sprint winner? Maybe, but this horse is going to be a part of the pace too. So post position is going to be key in this race because of how much speed there is in it and who needs the lead and who can sit just off of it, who's going to be pressed, who is going to be the presser.
It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. We'll have a lot more information, obviously, when we have the draw. Another tough old warrior I want to bring into the conversation here, who got himself even more famous 2 starts back in the Forego with his Hannibal Lecter routine. Firenze Fire, what do you think about this horse?
He's a thrilling horse, is he not? Despite the savaging situation. And it's too bad we're not seeing Yao Pan in this race because he would very much be a part of the conversation. But again, I don't know if he's at the level of a Jackie's Warrior. Yes, he can throw up some of those races, but is he going to throw it up, come Saturday at Del Mar? The Vosburg wasn't his best performance. Yes, he finished second, but the Beyer speed figure, not all that strong. He has that race in him. Whether or not it's going to come on Saturday of Breeders' Cup, I'm not completely convinced. But he's a fun horse to root for. I hope he doesn't bite anybody. I hope he doesn't get bitten because that's happened to him too.
That is amazing to be on 2 ends of that at the stakes level. I don't think I've ever really
learned behavior. I don't know.
It was almost like was it. I can't remember the horse that went after him. I feel like maybe it was where she told me to go, right? And then the turnabout's fair play in the Forego. Anyway, yeah. It was definitely a surreal moment that day. Very cool horse. Yeah. I mean, after seeing Whitmore win last year, it does make me want to open my eyes to some of these older, classy horses in case things just don't work out on the day for Jackie's Warrior for whatever reason. But what I'm seeing on paper is a lot like what you're seeing on paper. Horse who's going to take an awful lot of beating. Am I correct in saying you'd be pretty confident making him a linchpin of various pick bets on Breeders' Cup Saturday?
Who do you mean?
Oh, Jackie.
Oh yeah, oh, absolutely. I think I love Latruska, but she's had a hard campaign in terms of when you're looking at possible singles. Gamine will probably be a single for many people, considering there aren't too many horses that want to face her. But Jackie's Warrior, I would feel very, very good about leaning on.
I also love that run two back. The fact that we know Stalk and Pounce is in his
Yes.
article. He's not completely one way,
Yeah.
which gives me a little bit more confidence. We'll learn a lot more after we see the draw. But Brittany, really thrilled that you, on a busy day, took some time out to chat about this year's Breeders' Cup Sprint with us, and I very much look forward to seeing you out there at Del Mar. When do you arrive out there?
Halloween.
Me too. Me too. We can trick or treat together.
Perfect. I love it. Trick or treat along the stalls and just give some of the horses carrots. That would be fun.
Reverse trick or treating.
Yes,
I think it would be.
exactly.
Great stuff. Well, thank you, my friend, and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Couple of events we got to let you know about that are happening next week. One is virtual and in person, though even for the in-person one, we're going to be virtual. Does that make sense? Anyway, you'll figure it out. We're talking about the 2021 Breeders' Cup handicapping event with our friends at Medallion Racing / TaylorMade. Everybody out there can watch this thing streaming. I think it's going to be about 6:30 Eastern. It's going to go live on our YouTube page. There'll be a lot of social media promo about it. We'll get all of that tied on, dialed down, whatever you want to say. This is going to be our final answer show, essentially. Me and JK are going to be a part of it, Phillip, Shelton, and a mystery guest, I think, as well. But if you're in the Lexington area, this is something you can go to in person. You'll be watching us on screen, but you'll have an opportunity to partake of some excellent hospitality, delicious food and drinks. It's at Malone's Prime Events and Receptions. That's out on Tates Creek Road, November 3rd. The reception starts at 5:30, goes to about 8 o'clock. They're going to be putting a betting syndicate together. I think JK is going to be involved in putting that together as well. Mark Taylor will be on hand to host. You got to buy tickets to this thing, and they're easy to find if you go to the Medallion website or if you go to my Twitter. I'm going to pin this on my Twitter so you can see exactly how to click through and make sure if you're in the Lexington area next Wednesday, you want to attend this Breeders' Cup event. Going to be a lot of fun. And wherever you are out there in the world, we hope you'll be joining us to watch live. Should be a ton of fun. Next up, very happy to have a man I had the pleasure of working with last week at a live event down in Lexington. You know him from the Keeneland simulcast feed, his fantastic work on TVG. Scott Hazelton, how are things?
Things are good, Peter. How are you?
Excellent. World traveler, Scott Hazelton. These days, it's more just, running around the country, Scott Hazelton. But I bet you're pretty excited to get back to California soon.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We've got some time left here to wrap up a great weekend at Keeneland. It's been an amazing Keeneland meet, as you well know. But looking forward to getting on the ground and being back amongst the worldwide competition. That's been the hallmark of the Breeders' Cup, and getting a chance to run into everybody and catch up with everybody is a lot of fun, and obviously dissect these incredible races that we get each and every year.
One of the things I associate you with is fantastic knowledge when it comes to European racing. How did you develop your interest and knowledge about racing over there?
It was primarily getting the opportunity to go to Dubai for the first time in 2008, and that in itself is very much like a Breeders' Cup card, where you've got horses coming from all over, from Europe, from Japan, obviously from Dubai, from the United States, and from France, and just learning how to handicap these races or this type of form, because the form is basically non-existent compared to what we have here in the United States. So looking back at replays, understanding who's good at what, just learning from my friends, my colleagues. Rishi Prasad is one of those individuals. Nick Luck, just learning from them, asking a million questions, and paying attention. And next thing I knew, I was at Royal Ascot to cover Tepin on the Channel 4 feed, because there was such an American interest with her. And just kind of took it from there, and just kept on asking questions and trying to pay as much attention as I possibly could, and watching as much video as I possibly could.
Excellent answer. How strong do you think the European invaders are in this edition of the Breeders' Cup Mile?
I think Space Blues is a serious horse. His run in the Prix Lafforé on Arc Day was very solid to win by 2 lengths over heavy ground. And as soon as that race was over, Charlie Appleby saying, we're going to consider the Breeders' Cup Mile. So the year that Charlie's had, and to understand that, okay, this horse just ran over heavy ground and won it, and knowing you're not going to get anywhere near that at Del Mar, it's going to be much faster. I think it has to be a huge plus for this horse. And he's the favorite in the European market. I'm not surprised at that, but we'll see how the American audience, the American pools, what they do with him. But I think that word will quickly get out how good he is once people start to see replays and whatnot that are played in the weeks leading up and handicapping these races on TVG, like in our Breeders' Cup morning shows.
That is a great point about the potential for discrepancy between the two markets. Last year, Tarnawa, I thought I was putting my hand in the cookie jar, getting 7-2 that was available in the European markets, and meanwhile ends up going off almost 9-2 on the tote. It's something to pay attention to, and you might be able to find some signal in these important turf races, looking at horses who are taking a lot of money over there. That might be a little bit of overlays over here. I think that's something that listeners and viewers should definitely pay attention to. What about talking about Charlie Appleby, the unbelievable year he's had coming in here and pilfering prizes left and right? What about his other runner, Master of the Seas? How does Master of the Seas shake up against a horse like Space Blues and the rest of these signed on for the Breeders' Cup Mile?
I think it's another situation where, that he's bringing this horse off of, just a matter of days from Champions Day and soft ground at Ascot, much different conditions than he's going to be encountering over in Del Mar. So, and Baaid and Palace Pier, I mean, that might have turned out to be the race of the year in all the great racing that we saw overseas, because Baaid, stamped himself as we knew he was a serious horse going into that race, but even more so following that, the way that he beat Palace Pier, who's been one of the top milers in the world for the last couple of years. So I think just the ground is what you have to look towards, and he ran against some nice horses. Ben Battle in the Joel Stakes, runner up to Poetic Flair, a good horse in the 2000 Guineas. So if they're bringing him over and taking this shot and pushing forward on the quick turnaround, I think it's got everything to do with faster ground that they're absolutely going to be getting with a horse like Master of Seas. He's I don't think he's quite on the level of Space Blues, because I would downgrade him, finishing third to Ben Battle. Again, Ben Battle has been a very good war horse for the Godolphin operation for a long time, but he's not the Ben Battle of old. So, Master of Seas has to improve some lengths if he wants to win this, but he's definitely a contender to finish in the top 4 at least.
We got word yesterday that Order of Australia will not be competing, but Aidan O'Brien's still represented by Mother Earth. What do you think of her chances?
Another same situation, not to sound like a broken record, but she's coming out of that same race, the Queen Elizabeth II, the Baaid race where she was 5th. She's going to get a weight break. That's obviously a big plus for her, but she's had a nice season. She's won the 2000 Guineas, the 1000 Guineas, at the beginning of the year. She came over here last year and finished a good second in the juvenile fillies turf. So they know that she can travel, and that's what Coolmore does, right? Their fillies, especially, they ask a lot of them. They run often, and they carry a big load. And I think that Aidan must recognize that this filly is of that cut to be able to do this. Again, I can't rate her above the Space Blues, especially in some of these other American horses, but it's Aidan O'Brien, and the fact that they're showing up with this filly has to be viewed as a plus, knowing that they're going to get quicker ground to work with.
Let's talk about the USA-based horses. Who catches your eye? How big of a threat do they pose to the Invaders?
I think they do. Mo Forza has been a sensation this year. Watching him win races that it looks like he has no business winning. He is so determined when he runs. His Del Mar Mile was good, and his City of Hope Mile was even better. If you watch that race back at about the 8th pole, you're thinking to yourself, there's no possible way that he's going to pull this one out of the hat. And he does. And he just is an absolute, one of the hardest trying horses I've seen run in a long time. And he's on a 4-race win streak. We know that he likes Del Mar. He's got the home court advantage. Flavien Prat, he knows how to ride this turf course as well as anybody. There's no question about it. So I think he has to be viewed as a major threat to these runners, and also, hit the road. I think hit the road. If he had a little bit better trip last time out, he might have been the one to come away with that victory in the City of Hope mile. But he's always right there. It's been these three: Smooth Like Straight, Hit the Road, and Mo Forza. They've been the three that have dominated this division on the West Coast, and it's been Mo Forza who has dominated them, if you will. But he might be sitting on a big race as well. But those three you have to respect, and even Blowout. I mean, her win was very nice in taking the First Lady, and these fillies, they can do big things in these turf miles.
We've seen that before. That's for sure. Let's talk for a second about Got Stormy. Would be one of the greater stories to come out of the Breeders' Cup, I think, just based on the career that she's had. Do you like her in this spot at all, or is it maybe a bridge too far?
I mean, at this stage, doesn't it feel like maybe it's a little bit too tough with the youngsters that she's facing off against? I mean, she's had a hell of a career. She's made over 2.4 million. She's won a dozen races, sprinting, routing, beating the boys in the 4-star Dave. I wonder if her best right now is good enough to beat these other horses that are in such good form. I mean, she has been a sensation to watch, and you've got to respect the fact that they've kept her in training. Spendthrift Farm and My Racehorse, after buying her last fall for a considerable amount of money. But who knows? I mean, maybe she works out a trip and can come down to that. And if Tyler Gaffalione, the way that he's going right now at Keeneland, can work his magic, perhaps he can pull off an upset. But I think this is a pretty big ask for this mare at this point in her career.
Any other thoughts on any of these other runners before I let you get out of here, Scott?
I think that In Love is worth a look. I mean, can he take another step forward? Obviously, he has really gotten good as of late, and you always have to respect horses that are in career best form, and he certainly is at this point in time. So, and Paulo Lobo has done so well with these runners like Ivar, who is now into this race, and Ivar winning the Shadwell last year, and then him coming back right with In Love and getting him to progress. So I think you got to respect him. You got to pay attention to the way that these horses are training. That's so key. Watching them out on the track, the workouts, and all of that. And that's one of the brilliant things about the Breeders' Cup is the accessibility that handicappers have, because you've got this video, you've got these programs in the morning that are going to be on TVG starting on Friday all the way through Thursday, the day before Breeders' Cup. I mean, that's one of the things that you really have to pay attention to, is trust your own eye, and also trust the eye of the trained eyes, if you will, that analyze these workouts so often and each and every year.
Will you be part of that coverage?
I will. We start on Friday. We'll be here for the first 3 days at Keeneland, covering the activity at Keeneland, which it's supposed to be a little bit on the wet side. So we'll see how that factors into horses going out and training. But and then once I get down to Del Mar, we'll be on the show Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Make sure to tune in and catch all that action. It's great to get a sense of the atmosphere, and the coverage is a lot of fun. We'll be participating in the Breeders' Cup social team, posting stuff as well. Folks will, if you can't be at Del Mar, we'll try to give you a little slice of it, and definitely check out Scott on the work show over on TVG. Scott, thank you so much. Can't wait to see you in person again in just a few days' time.
Always a pleasure.
The 2021 Breeders' Cup Monster Pods are brought to you in part by In the Money Plus. We have a lot of great information as part of Plus this year. Contributions from JK, Nick Tamaro, Matt Vagvolgi, Frank Scattoni going to be joining the team as well for this. We're talking about things like tickets, betting strategies, extra analysis. It's going to be something you don't want to miss. Oh, European information too. We're going to have Sean Borman along with Rob Dove, one of the top 10 pro punters in the UK today. To sign up for it, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus, $15 for a month. There'll be some extra podcast content as well coming up in the span of your 30 days with the Plus membership. If you sign up now, you'll want to check that out as well, including some stuff for the closing weekend at Keeneland. But anyway, sign up. People sign up and they stay. So based on the 97% rate of that, I think I'm going to just confidently say you're going to like it. $150 for the year, $15 for the month. inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. That's inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. Next up in the show, man, I've had the pleasure of working with a whole bunch lately. We did our show in Lexington last week. We've got a show planned next week. We're going to be doing a live show for the Breeders' Cup on Wednesday, November 3rd. And that one you can go to live if you are in Lexington. There's going to be all the details about that live show. The man I'm about to introduce will be tweeting them out, or we can talk them through real quick soon. I'm talking about from Medallion Racing, their racing manager and a sharp horse player who had a great day on Saturday. Phillip Shelton, how are things?
Yeah, thanks, Pete. We had a good weekend. We hit the Turf Pick 3 after going through some of the races, so it was a lot of fun, and we had a big group there that were able to win some money. So it was a great day.
I love it. Yeah, that was a fun show. We had Scott Hazelton, who will be part of this show we're doing now as part of that. And if folks do want to go live, it's going to be held at Malone's Prime Events up on the second floor, 5:30 to 8 local time in Lexington on the 3rd. And you're going to be able to watch the thing streaming live as well. I'm not exactly sure. I think the show is going to probably go live streaming 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Anyway, there'll be lots of information about that if you follow me at Looms Boldly. If you follow Phillip at PShelton8, we'll get all that info for you. Really looking forward to finalizing that lineup. JK will be in the mix. And maybe we'll even pick up another guest to make it all the more fun. But that's next week. This week, we're here to talk about one race, and it's the Distaff. Tell me, give me your overview of this year's running. What do you think is going to happen in here?
Yeah, I think it's to me, you have the divisional standouts, Latruska, right? She's won like 4 challenge races. I mean, normally this is a division. It's kind of like, I feel like it's like California turf horses, just one horse, it's like 4 different challenge winners. And this filly's just gone and won every single challenge race and really done it, her race in the personal instant where she had to battle on the lead, just held off some very good closers. We saw where Royal Flag came back to doing the Beldame. To me, she's just a standout. I think the really interesting thing about her is she's just not way faster from a figure perspective. She is faster. And you get these older fillies and mares, and it's like, who can take a step forward? But, all she does is win, but she doesn't stand out. I think, a horse like Royal Flag that's really coming in. We have Horologist in there. And I think, Royal Flag really quick. And I think what's always interesting, too, is you get these East Coast horses. Normally, I would say, I don't really know how they're going to handle the West Coast tracks. It used to be the West Coast tracks were just so blazingly fast. That's kind of been the opposite now. They're so deep that you just don't know who's going to handle it. And I think that could be a great equalizer. Like Latruska's taken her track with her. Hasn't really mattered so far this year. So I'm not sure that it'll matter at Del Mar, but Del Mar is a unique surface. I went back and looked at just how they talked about it on the entry show this morning, but really East Coast horses and Europeans did really well last time it was at Del Mar. And maybe that outside kind of run, did great last time, so you just pay attention to it. But yeah, I think Latruska feels like, a very legit 8-5. From a wagering perspective, I think it's just all about, where do you fall and how do you find value? And that's the key to all the big days, is it's just make your opinion count. For me, I could be interested in spreading a little bit, just thinking like Private Mission's got, a lot of speed. Latruska's got speed. How does the post draw, impact it? Does Latruska draw outside? Private Mission can maybe sit, but what if she draws inside? So I think that's an interesting thing we'll have to look at next Monday when they draw the posts.
It is going to be an interesting one in terms of race design. Horologist, who you mentioned, whole lot of ones in the PPs. Are you thinking you want to try to take the race to a runner like Latruska, or do you think there might be different tactics involved?
I think kind of what we've found is her best races are when you just put her in the bit and you let her run. I don't know that she's fast enough to go with Latruska, to be completely honest. And I don't think she needs lead. I think what she needs is, ride her early, put her in the race, and then let her place herself. It just so happened in the other races, like the Shuvi, the other speed horse did break. So we were on the lead. The Summer Colony was kind of a slop race, and we ended up on the lead. It was a small field. And then the Beldame ended up on the lead. I don't know that she couldn't be as good sitting like just off. We're not going to be way off the pace. And I think the post is critically important for her. I think she is a horse that has kind of proven over the course of time she does not want to be inside. When you put her in the race, she wants to go, and she doesn't want to take a bunch of dirt. I think that we found that out like at Pimlico this year. We kind of said, oh, they want the lead. We'll just sit in the catbird seat, and she just wanted no part of it. So I don't know we have to be on the lead, but ideally for us, we want to draw outside, and then we can just get a stalking trip, rather be 3 wide, lose some ground, but be in the clear the whole way, put her in the race. And, she just don't want to be grabbed. So that'll be the key for us. And I think, on her dad, what's tough, and you can say it in all these races, but, she at least has like a couple 100+ buyers. She's run a 3 Ragozin. Like, if she can run at her peak race, she's good enough to be in the mix. Now, can she do that, a week from Saturday is a different question with the right trip. But, she's tough. She's very one-paced. I think Rosario in the Beldame gave his filly every shot. He basically made an early move, and he made it like a 5/16 sprint to the finish where we had a half-length head start on him, and we're never going to win a race like that. We need to be 3-4 ahead of the deep closers because we're just not going to outkick. We're going to kind of grind. And for us, a 3rd place finish would be huge. We had a filly last year in the Breeders' Cup that ran 4th in the filly and mare turf, and we sold her right after, probably added $500,000 in value. So Heraldus is going to go into the sale right after the race. So, a good finish here could certainly add to residual, but she didn't know us anything. She's just an honest horse. She's won almost $1 million. She tries hard. I wish all of them, were as talented and tried as hard as she does.
Good stuff. Few others to talk about in here. She Dares the Devil is going to take a ton of market attention, and deservedly so, based on her resume. How serious of a contender do you think she is for Brad Cox?
My early opinion, she would be a play against for me. I don't know that, she beat Latruska early this year at Oaklawn. She came back to win at Churchill. I think that field has probably come back to not be as good in the La Troyenne as what it appeared. She came out to Del Mar, beat a pretty bad field, I think. Venetian Harbor doesn't want to go 2 turns. It wasn't that fast of a race from a figure perspective. And they brought her back at Churchill in a race that she was a heavy favorite, and she almost got beat. Now, she didn't get beat, and maybe that was just a full prep for this. But, my opinion on her, just I don't want much. I don't want any part of her at could be the second choice in the race. I much prefer a horse like Royal Flag. I think how much steam like a horse like Mouth that takes. But if you said, hey, Mouth that and She Dares the Devil are equal odds, I'd much prefer the upside of Mouth that. I just think She Dares the Devil's been campaigned very well. I think Brad's done a great job. But probably her fastest race of the year was when she ran on Lasix against Latruska. That was a long time ago.
A lot of good points for sure. Let's talk about Royal Flag and her stablemate Dunbar Road, both of whom have late pace. This pace could get pretty hot. You got the 2 Bafferts, which means you would assume, man, not opposed to team tactics. You pretty much know that one of them is going hammer and tongs, presumably Private Mission on the outside. Horologist, depending on the draw, like you said, going to be part of that pace. She Dares the Devil, not going to be too far back. How about those Chad Brown late runners to at least get a piece or maybe upset the apple cart in here?
Yeah, I think Royal Flag is coming into the race. If I was spreading, and I don't even know that I'd really spread that deep, I might just play like 2 or 3 in here and just try to, say, hey, Latruska's probably the most likely winner. Maybe she's got 60% of my action, and, Royal Flag would be, my second choice. And I just think she's coming into it the right way. I think her last race was really impressive to me that, she looked like in the summer or in the Chuvy and then the personal engine, she's going to be coming from way back. And then last time she made this early move, which I thought Rosario just gave her every chance to win, knowing, hey, if he's 3 off Horologist, I was like telling one of our guys, I said, he gave me like the touch gold ride. He was like 6 pass off the rail. He never gave us a chance to kind of to see him and really rally. But she just feels like one that's coming into it the right way. She's, half to Catalina Cruiser. They've always thought I remember when she, aired in her allowance at Churchill and was, ran in the Molly Pitcher, and they were like, oh, they've just got this huge opinion. We beat her in the Molly Pitcher. She came back and ran second actually to Latruska in the Chuvy after that. But to me, she feels like a horse that's just on the right trajectory. And, again, would be my, without going through posts and everything else, I just think she could get the right trip. And I think she showed last time she doesn't have to be that far. She doesn't have to be 10th and 11. She could be 7th of 11 and not leave herself too much to do.
I love that reference. That's an old school reference. The Touch Gold ride for younger people who might not know what Phillip is talking about. That was a race that traumatized me for many years. Go back and watch it on YouTube. I think that night I watched it approximately 50 times. I kept expecting in one of them for Silver Charm to hang on, but it was not meant to be. You talked about the 3-year-old Malathot. What about also the 3-year-old Clairiere, another late runner who I've always thought had the potential to just keep getting better as the year went on. And another one, but both she and Malathot have impressive stamina. If we're talking about a fast-paced 1 1/8, that could play like the 1 1/4. I think you can argue that both of those won. I'm not sure on figures if they're fast enough to tangle with the top ones we've talked about, but I'm not sure I want to leave them out either. Where do you stand with Clairiere and button up Malathot for us?
I've probably been a little negative on Clairiere. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just been value that she's always kind of been the second favorite or the favorite in some of these races. I think, she finally won in the cotillion. That was a race that the outside was really good. It ended up kind of the last move was the best move, like obligatory kind of moved early to challenge always Karina. Army wife ducked to the inside. We had Maracuja in there, was stuck on the inside. It felt like she just ended up getting the right kind of trip. She's certainly progressive, and she, feels like they've kind of figured out, they need to take her back and just make one run. And that's when she can run her best. I would agree with you. I don't know that she's good enough to beat the older horses. Like, could she get third? Absolutely. And I think you saw it at Saratoga this summer, but I think just Asmussen on a big day, it's kind of like Baffert on a big day. It just feels like, he has a way to get these horses ready. I think it's really interesting too. Like, he shipped a ton of his horses really early this year, like Echo Zulu's been out for a while. Jackie's Warrior's been out for a while. I mean, a bunch of these horses have been out there. I don't really have a strong opinion on if that's going to be positive or negative, but I just think it's really interesting that, I think the horse, when it was at Santa Anita, you had Grade 1 horses getting beat 30 lengths, which to me just says they just absolutely couldn't stand up on the track. It's just too deep. So I think everybody's got that in the back of their mind, and they're like, hey, I've got to get out there. It's just way different than Churchill or whatever, Keeneland, whatever base you are, that, it's not that deep style track. So it's really interesting. I'd probably be against Clairiere, but, if I was playing tries or something, I would, certainly use her. I don't think she's the most impossible to get in the try.
Any in here that we haven't talked about that we should before I ask you about the other medallion Breeders' Cup activity?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think Dunbar Road is really interesting. Like, and kind of a similar thing. If you told me Dunbar Road and Clairiere were similar prices, I'd just take Dunbar Road. And I think that's kind of where I looked at. I said, hey, there's the double and Royal Flag. I just prefer Royal Flag at what could be a similar price. Dunbar Road would be the same. It just feels like on the biggest day, she shows up. She's never good enough to win, but she's good enough to hit the board. That's how I would view Clairiere. Like, she beat a good field of 3-year-old fillies in the cotillion, but it was missing Malathot. She ran a really good race in, the Alabama, but Malathot beat her. Like, she's just a cut below Malathot, it seems like. And, I don't know. Malathot's not going to be an overwhelming favorite in here. So, Dunbar Road would be one I'd be interested in, especially for a try. Again, I'm not sure she could get up to win, but I could see her running on it and running second or third.
Let's talk about Estío Talentoso for a minute. Going to be running in the filling and mare sprint. Gamine going to be one of the shorter prices. Going to be the shortest price probably on the 2 days. Do you think Estío Talentoso goes with a chance to take her down?
What I would say is we also have Bella Sophia in there, and to me, it's really interesting. Like, some of it is a lack of opportunities in California to run. Like, they ran her at Santa Anita earlier in the year, then they took her east. They ran her when the Baffert was in whatever hiatus he was from New York. And they ran her at Los Al, which is a completely different track to Santa Anita and Del Mar. So for me, the question, they always said Gamine is not as good in California as she is on the East Coast. She prefers the tighter tracks. Does that materialize? And I would say she just hasn't been as good this year. Now, Gamine at 90% of the 2020 version might still be good enough to win. But, her best race was in the Ballerina, where she basically got completely loose on the lead. Went a pretty slow opening quarter. They quickened up a little bit from there. it's really interesting. I think Bella Sophia is our best chance of the weekend. I think the thing about Estilo is she's been on the board 16 of 17 starts. She tries really hard. She prefers 7 furlongs. She's kind of a grinder. And I think her only time off the board is in the Ballerina. We basically said, hey, we're going to go try to sit just off Gamine, give ourselves a chance to win. She didn't break. She hit the gate at the start and then kind of rushed up, didn't work. So in my mind, she's going to sit, let's say, 4th in a 7-horse field. Again, posts, matter in that race as well. But we're going to try to sit a little bit more, make our run and see. So, what I would tell you, she's hard to have on the win end against what look like 2 very good horses in Bella Sophia and Gamine. But I don't see any reason why she couldn't be 3rd. And if one of those takes a misstep, she's going to try hard. She can be coming in the lane. Just a question of how does she handle it, and just like everybody else.
I'm glad to hear your Bella Sophia confidence, though. Obviously, I should have mentioned them as a pair. A little bit of a host fail there, but we talked earlier. Actually, it was on the previous show with Steve Bick. I think she goes there with a very big chance to get the job done. And it sounds like you feel similarly, calling her the best chance of the weekend for you.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, what I like about horses like her, just in general, is she's very fast, but she doesn't need a lead. She's content to sit just off. If Gamine wants the lead, or one of these other horses decides, hey, the only way I have a shot to win is to challenge Gamine, she's happy to sit just off. And if, like, Gamine breaks slow or something, we can be on the lead. She can really get any sort of trip. So, I think post, you'd love to draw outside of Gamine, or you'd love to be, I think she drew the 8 in the test, ended up drawing a perfect trip. But horses like her are hard to find, because, like, these sprinters, a lot of times they just got one way of going and they don't really quicken. They just run fast throughout, and then it's a gradual slowdown. But this filly can really, quicken, and, you look up and she can open up a couple links on you, in a 16th of a mile. And I think that's hard to find. So, yeah, I think she's got a big shot. Like, would I be shocked if Baffert, wins 4 races on the card and Gamine airs? Absolutely not. But I think we go with a shot, and that's what all you can hope for.
Push button horse. That's what Mike Maloney calls horses like Bella Sophia that you were describing. I think that's a pretty good description. Great stuff, Phillip. We look forward to chatting with you next week. Remember, we're going to be live streaming on our YouTube channel, our show that we're going to be doing on November 3rd. And if you're in Lexington, you can go attend live. Check out at Shelton 8 for all the details. I assume you'll have that tweet pinned up there.
Yeah, we'll pin it up there so you can get tickets and go live. We're going to have some cool raffles. We're also going to do a big betting syndicate. JK a plug. We did a betting syndicate last year. He put together a pick 6 ticket that nobody hit the pick 6. We hit 5 of 6 5 times, but our syndicate hit for 167,000. So give him a big shout out, and we'll do that again. So we'll give out some free entries into the betting syndicate. We'll do some medallion raffle stuff. So we're really excited for Wednesday.
Should be a great event over there at Malone's. Again, check out all the details. And JK never did respect Whitmore enough. Phillip, thank you so much for your time today.
That's right. Thanks, guys.
Just want to give a quick thank you to our friends over at Mill Ridge. On my recent trip to Lexington, had a chance to visit the farm. It's gorgeous. No surprise, they do great work over there. 36 grade winners since the year 2000. And just give them a little thank you also for sponsoring next week's Pro Players Roundtable, one of the most popular shows we do amongst the true racing fans. You get more compliments on that, really, than anything else we do. Lineup isn't finalized yet, but we'll be there, and we'll be doing a show thanks to our friends at Mill Ridge. To learn more about them, go to millridge.com. Next up on the show, so let me just back up. I'm so pleased with the group of guests we have, but this next guest may be the one I'm the most happy to have of everybody. We had the pleasure of working together at Ascot several years ago. Helped me out on a recent project for our friends over at theraces.com. Legendary cricketer, broadcaster, all-around good guy, Michael Holding. How are things, my friend?
Hi, Peter. Thanks for the kind introduction. Everything is good, thanks.
When last we spoke, you were over in Old Blighty. Now you're in a slightly different setting down there in Grand Cayman. How's the island treating you?
The island is fine. The most important thing, Peter, is that the weather is fantastic. It's bright, it's sunny, it's warm. And the next important thing, which may change in the not too distant future, is that the COVID is under control. But the borders are closed, so that helps a lot.
Yeah.
They're planning on opening the borders soon, so that may change slightly, but I think they are doing the right thing, and the way they're going about it, we should be okay.
Tell me, how many Breeders' Cups have you been to?
Wow. I'll have to go back and check, Peter. But
Approximately 5,
Yeah.
10, more, less.
Probably 10. I've done all but 2 that have been in California. I've done New York, Belmont. I did the one that they had at Gulfstream. I think that's the only one they ever had at Gulfstream. I did that one. So I've done quite a few.
That was my first one back there in 1998, I think, at Gulfstream. I imagine with travel difficulties, not going to make it to this California Breeders' Cup, or are you going to pull a rabbit out of a hat?
I won't make this one. Not just because of travel difficulties, but because of family issues that, I'm restricted with travel at the moment.
Yeah. Well, got to take care of business and deal with all that. I know you'll be watching with great interest. I have you on to talk about the Breeders' Cup Turf, a race I know you have a rich betting history in. Do you have a betting fancy from this far out?
I do have a betting fancy, but it's a bit boring because I think the favorite Tanawa, I think that should be favorite. I think he has an outstanding chance. When you look at his form, Peter, you have to realize that this is the best horse in the field. It doesn't mean that the best horse always wins. But when you look at the fact that you got beaten by St. Mark's Basilica in the Champion Stakes in Ireland, and of course, Dermot Well was complaining about Ryan Moore's riding that caused him the race, according to him. And then, of course, he went and backed it up at the Arc. He ran a fantastic race at the Arc. He was a bit slow out of the gates, and he still came second. And he stepped up from 1.25 miles in the Champion Stakes in Ireland to 1.5 miles in France, and ran a fantastic race.
She's a super horse. I'm a huge fan, and it did feel like, as they said, the Arc was the goal this year. The only thing that gives me a little pause is last year, the way she was campaigned, they said the Breeders' Cup Turf was going to be the goal. This time around, it seemed like she was more maybe meant to peak on Arc Day. I guess that's my only hesitation. But for a tough filly, it hasn't been, the races have been huge, but it's not like it's been some long campaign. I'm hoping she has one more big bullet left to fire and she can get the job done and do the double like your old friend Conduit.
Yes, as you said, Dermot Well has been very careful with her. She hasn't run a lot of races this season, so she should still be fresh. And I think Dermot Well knows what he's doing. He can bring her back or bring back any horse after not too long a period of time off the track. So he should be okay. I see that, as usual, Peter, Aidan O'Brien has flooded the race. He has about 5 different nominated horses. I don't know who is going to run, but to be honest, his form this year has not been what you'd expect. Not that he hasn't won a lot of races, because when you think of the amount of Group 1s, he has still already won. But you still don't see the amount of winners and the high-class winners from Aidan O'Brien that we're accustomed to seeing. And the horses that he has in this race, I've checked my notes here. He has Love, he has Bolshoi, Ballet, he has Broom, Japan, Mogul. I don't see any of them really being good enough to win this race.
It sounds like Love is going to go to the filly and mare turf too, where I think her chance would probably improve. What about Charlie Appleby? All he's done is come over here to our shores and plunder prize after prize. What about his runners in this spot?
Well, he has Jabir, which I think he went to Belmont and won the last time. But again, I'm not too sure if he's a Group 1 horse, Peter. The races that he has been winning, he won a Group 1, yes, in the US. But no horses from Europe going to the US to run on turf and running over 1.5 miles, they usually have the upper hand. So I'm not too sure if the race that he won was that high quality a race. The horse I think that we have to look out for, Peter, is another horse from Europe, Tiona. I know that Roger Varian rated her highly. He ran her in the Oaks, ran no race whatsoever. He was very, very disappointed with her effort in the Oaks. He put her down for almost 3 months and came back and has won her 2 outings since. Of course, she won the Prix Vermeil, which, was a good race. And I think she's improving because Snowfall, who beat her in May at York, she turned that around with Snowfall in the pre-Vermeil and turned it around quite comfortably. So she's improving. I think that she's the filly that we have got to look out for.
It sounds like a very reasonable idea. She's cross-centered as well, but does sound like she's going to turn up here in the turf. What about the domestic challenge? And I do like that distinction you made before about even a horse that wins a grade 1 in the USA. I still think it's valid to say they might not be quite up to Group 1 level, implying the international competition. But it would seem that domestic spending would be the most likely of the domestic hopes. What do you think of him?
What I didn't like is the fact that he got beat last time. That, I think you said the pace was a little bit slow. That might have affected the outcome of the race. But when you're coming up against European horses, when the American turf horses are coming up against European horses, you'd prefer to see them winning all the time going into the Breeders' Cup. Because, as you said, Group 1 on the turf, this we are talking about now, not dirt. Group 1 on the turf in America is never usually as high a standard as a Group 1 on turf in Europe, whether it's England or France. So I prefer to see him keep on winning to show me that he's better than the American horses every time. That doesn't rule him out. Perhaps he just had a bad day. But I prefer to see him continuously winning going into the Breeders' Cup.
It'd be interesting to see how he's training too and hear the reports. This is another one that has a chance, I think, to be a little bit of a talking horse if he is doing well. The other thing about domestic spending to note, and this applies to international viewers and listeners as well as the ones here in North America, this could be a situation where you get wildly different prices in the two places. Domestic spending, his familiarity with our audience, the Chad Brown factor. This is a horse that could get hammered on the tote and be a very pleasing price with the bookies potentially. Meanwhile, Tiona is a great example of a horse who I think very likely will go off lower with the bookies than on the USA tote. So if you have the opportunity to look at both markets, this is a race where you want to be shopping around. That's something I'm going to take a wild guess you're familiar with.
Yes, I'm familiar with that, Peter, because I've done that a few times whenever it comes to the Breeders' Cup. When I'm at the track and I look at the tote board on the track, and then I recognize that the American horses are being bet so highly and the European horses are a bit longer. And then, of course, it can be the other way around in England. You see the English horses in England being very short and the American horses in England being longer than they should be. So it's good to shop around and to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing when you're having a bet on these races where you have multiple countries being represented. Because I did that a lot with Conduit. I got a reasonably good price with Conduit, which I knew I wouldn't have gotten in England.
That's great stuff. Answer this for me. Truth-telling time. Have you ever bet an American horse in the Breeders' Cup turf?
Yes, I have. I just didn't expect that year Americans would have a chance, but I am going to tell you, it wasn't my first bet. It was like a savior. Gotcha. So, it's difficult for me to say any American turf horse is going to definitely beat the European horses. But that year, I don't even remember the horse that I bet on. But that year I said, you know what, I'll just have a save on this horse because I have a lot of American friends who were around me on the track. And they said, Mikey, this horse is going to beat your horse. I said, okay, let me just have a saver.
I love it. Good stuff. Is there another Breeders' Cup horse or race this year that you're particularly excited about betting?
To be honest, I am a little bit lukewarm because of the fact that my good friend Michael Stout isn't sending anything over this year. I'm a little bit disappointed with the bloodstock that he has in the stables this year. I'm not able to find anything good enough. But, when the races come around, Peter, I am definitely going to get involved. You can't sit on the side of the Breeders' Cup. And, of course, my good friend Ryan Moore will be coming over to ride. So, I'll be looking out for what he's riding as well.
Will you talk to him? Do you get his little preview of his mounts, or do you leave him alone?
No, I talk to him. As a matter of fact, I sit down with him before all the big race meetings. Royal Ascot, I'll go up to his home, I'll sit with him and we'll discuss the races, not just the horses he's riding, because I value his opinion highly. And he thinks a lot about the horses. He evaluates the races very well, in my opinion. So even when I'm coming to Royal Ascot to work, I'm happy to sit down with him and discuss it. I am not an expert in horse racing. I'm more an expert in cricket. So I'm happy to discuss it with Ryan Moore to get his opinion. Sometimes his opinion differs from mine, but he is the man. He is the racing man. I don't think he would argue too much with me about cricket, so I'm not going to argue too much with him about racing.
I was going to ask if he gets the cricket tips from you.
Well, I've just brought him into the game, actually. The last few years, he has started to watch and he has started to enjoy the game. Initially, he used to call me and message me and ask me certain things. Why did this happen or why did they do that? But now he's even volunteering on his own opinion on the games.
That's fantastic. My cricket questions haven't risen above the level of why aren't they wearing gloves?
Yeah, only one man is allowed to wear the gloves, the man behind the stumps.
I have a new life dream, Michael, and it's to go to a cricket match with you, by the way. I'm sure you get hassled for that all the time. So
that would be a pleasure, Peter. I love to explain the game to people who just don't know the game. It's simple if you sit with the right person for them to explain it to you.
I'll study enough so I don't have to, what's a wicket will not be a question. I'll get the basics down. And then
let's get the basics right.
And then I'm also happy because when I see Ryan Moore in the Breakfast Marquee next week, I now have my icebreaker. Instead of being the 18th reporter to go up to him and ask about, this mount or that mount, I'm going to say, hey, your buddy Michael Holding says hi, and see if that gets him to smile.
That will melt the ice a bit.
Yeah, exactly. I don't just want him to scowl at me. I need to get on his good side.
Yes, he's a good man, though.
Oh no, I love him. I'm teasing. He's great. Michael, thank you so much for coming on and chatting, and really look forward to getting a chance to do it again soon.
Thank you very much for having me, Peter.
PTF here just to tell you, if you're liking this content, we've got so much more for you on the Breeders' Cup. Yeah, I told you about inthemoneypodcast.com/plus before, but there's also going to be a ton of free stuff. Some of the things we have planned, really hoping we get back and can do some sort of collab with the Matt Bernier show, that wildly popular Breeders' Cup show he did last year, still getting views on YouTube somehow. We'd love to do something like that again. Baby Talk, Sean Tugel and I will be going over the baby races. That's going to be a ton of fun. I told you also elsewhere in this broadcast about the TaylorMade live show that you can watch streaming. That's, of course, going to be archived on our YouTube channel, and also we'll put up an audio version of it. And one of the most popular things we've done amongst the real aficionados, Pro Players Roundtable. Not sure exactly who the lineup is going to be, but it's going to be great. That will drop Thursday night. Anyway, lots of content. Follow me on Twitter. I'll be tweeting everything at Looms Boldly, or just keep checking regularly over at inthemoneypodcast.com. That's inthemoneypodcast.com. Next up on the show, very, very pleased to welcome in an old colleague, one of the people whose opinion I always want to read on New York racing, or really any racing he's covering. You can also watch his stuff over at drf.com, often with the great Dan Illman. I'll give you this accolade for this man too. Marshall Graham, one of the sharpest guys around, says Mike Beer is the best handicapper he knows, at least in the public sphere. Mike Beer, how are things?
I think it's pretty good, Pete. Thanks for inviting me onto this show. We still have a week. It's a little early for me to start digging in deep to these Breeders' Cup races, but I'm very happy to be here. See what we can come up with for the Classic. Yeah, you got stuff at Belmont to worry about tomorrow. What do you need to worry about these races in 10 days? Much prefer to bet those races. Is that right? I mean, is this not? You won't necessarily handle. I handle significantly more when it comes to the Breeders' Cup. Not necessarily so for you. Not necessarily. So I actually, the Breeders' Cup is one of those. It's the 2 days that I really can't resist. But, for the most part, the big, the way that the racing has trended into those big event days, big Saturdays that they load up with stakes races, not really my favorite. So I try to temper it down, on those days, but definitely not at the Breeders' Cup. But the Breeders' Cup, I'm all in. Let's talk about this Breeders' Cup Classic. I think many would agree that Brad Cox holds a strong hand in this one. Do you think he'll be the trainer of the winner, or do you think it's more open than that? I kind of feel like it's more open than that. That being said, I guess it would, I don't think anybody would be that surprised if Brad Cox does have the winner of the race. Personally, Pete, and this, going back over time, and for whatever reason, I realized that especially people who like figures can't get enough of Nick's Go. I've never been a real believer in this horse. So he's certainly one of the, shorter prices, it feels like, on this Breeders' Cup Saturday. I'll probably happily be against.
I've stayed away. I through some associates over in the UK, I've gotten involved with some of the shorter prices. Jack Christopher, Jackie's Warrior, Life is Good. I'm just a little bit scared of this horse. I mean, I do think if he runs back the Whitney, certainly goes with every chance. But ultimately, it's two things. It's the presence of Medina Spirit, who has apparently shown that he's still a horse, and it's the 10 furlongs. Are those your main concerns about Nixco?
Yeah, I feel like those have to be two of the main concerns. Certainly, it feels like this is a race where he could really take some heavy pressure up on the lead, which obviously has not always been the case. You know, listen, this is a horse who's, 7 for 9 since Brad Cox has taken over, and he does have some big wins to his credit. But, let's be honest and pull his form apart a little bit. So far this year, they've really tested him 3 times this year. He's lost 2 of those races, the Met Mile and the Saudi Cup. He did win the Whitney, and I thought he looked good winning that race. But, Maxfield was in there. Swiss Skydiver was in there, the horse that finished last. Obviously never really showed up at all. So I don't know. How impressive was that win, really? I don't know. He's just one of those horses that I really struggle to get behind. I don't love that he's a horse who's going to take tons of money off of a big figure in the Cornhusker handicap. I don't care. An easy win in the Lucas Classic. I don't care. This is a way tougher race over a distance that just may not be his best.
There is a lot of pace, I think the theory is that the abundant stamina that Essential Quality showed in runs such as his Belmont victory could come into play. What do you think of his chances?
I think he actually has a real chance. It's funny. He's one of those horses who, for me anyway, as somebody who likes to, sort of pull trips apart, he's not that easy to get behind because there's really nothing to latch onto in that department with him. He just gets great trips in all of his races. And so it always sort of leaves you thinking, what's going to happen when he doesn't get a great trip? You know what? That really hasn't been a concern for him. I would argue that a couple starts back in the Jim Dandy at Saratoga, he didn't get a great trip that day. I know it was against sort of weaker 3-year-olds, but I was still pretty taken with that performance. To win with that kind of an outside trip all the way, going 9 furlongs at Saratoga, as I think you probably, I don't know if you would agree with me or not. Actually, I shouldn't put those words in your mouth, but people who watch races up there at Saratoga knows how hard that trip is over that distance. He overcame it. I thought his Belmont was great. His Travers was very good. I don't know. I just feel like there's way too much to like about him. And he's one of the few horses who I feel like when you just, look at him overall, he's not going to be compromised by either the distance or the trip that he gets.
Where does your eye go? Like, who would you, not asking you to give a pick from this far out, but who in your view is the most likely winner?
The most likely winner is a good question. I don't know if I have a good answer for that. Actually, the most likely winner, in my opinion, just because I'm so, sort of leaning away from Knicks Go, it might be one of the 3-year-olds. It could be Essential Quality, maybe even Hot Rod Charlie, who I've been a real fan of. I'm not so sure that he isn't every bit as good as Essential Quality is. I'm a little bit maybe more concerned about his running style because he does feel like one of those horses who wants to be involved from the get-go. So we'll see what kind of trip he can work out. But I think maybe one of the 3-year-olds. And, I just wouldn't be able to, go through this entire classic field or the field as it's shaping up right now anyway, and not at least give some kind of a mention to Max Player. I know that he has to improve to beat this field, and it's not going to be easy for him to do it. But I've been on this horse's bandwagon from day one. I thought he was way better than he looked as a 3-year-old. They really rushed this horse into some tough spots. I thought he acquitted himself pretty well early on before, maybe losing his way a little bit at the end of the year. He's come back very good for Asmussen this year, and he's 2 for 2 in a mile and a quarter in his last 2 starts.
Yeah, he does seem interesting, and he's certainly progressive, and the hands that he's in could be laid out for another big effort. Where do you stand with Art Collector? Another horse has a similar profile as far as I'm concerned, coming into it the right way in good hands.
Yeah, just because he's going to be, it feels like he's going to be a better price. I'm not going to, knock him too hard. I might actually be more against him than I am against Knicks Go, actually.
Oh, interesting.
A horse who I won't deny that he showed talent early on. And he's certainly run, 3 really nice races since Bill Mott's taken over. I like that his figures have actually really held up. But man, you're talking about a horse who not only feels like he wants to be forward, but talk about 3 perfect trips in a row in his 3 starts for Mott. He's not my kind of horse, but he's definitely going to be a fair price in there if you like him.
Soft paces too. I mean, I was thinking he'd have to show a different running style than in those last three for sure. Curious to see what the market makes of Art Collector in this spot. Can we talk about the Southern California horses as a group, or are there ones that stand out to you that you might be interested in here?
Yeah, I'm having a tough time warming up to the handicap horse. I mean, obviously, I guess you would have to consider, Medina Spirit and Hot Rod Charlie California horses, I guess, as the 3-year-olds. I just prefer them. I had a tough time warming up to the handicap horses out there. Tripoli won the Pacific Classic. I guess he ran okay that day. The more I look at that race, the less I like it, Pete. He got a perfect trip in there. It just felt like nobody really ran behind him. He's not another horse. I don't really want to knock him too hard because I actually felt like his Awesome Again might be a little bit better than it looks. So maybe he's the one, if I had any confidence at all that Idol just really, really needed the Awesome Again and was going to step forward off it if he runs here, I guess I would give him a look because he'll be off the pace. He'll probably be making one run. And as bad as his Awesome Again was, I got to believe if they're going to press on with him that he just really needed that race.
The perils of doing this show so early. I think Idol is not going to go from the most recent thing I heard.
I'm not surprised to hear that at all, as poorly as he ran in the Awesome Again.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Did you indicate that you think Medina Spirit has a real chance in this race beyond just that of a pace factor?
I mean, I'll say no. I mean, of the 3-year-olds, I guess he's the one that I'll say that I like the least. Although I got to say, I do think his last 2 races, since they gave him time after that Preakness, he was pretty disappointing in the Preakness. Since they've given him time, I do think he's come back better.
He certainly showed some a good time and some real fight last time. And yeah. I can't shake the idea that his role in this race is to make sure it isn't a procession for Knicks Go.
Me too.
Looking at it more and more. I mean, essential quality and then the idea of trying to get Max Player involved. I mean, they seem like interesting alternatives and price wise, we'll have to see how much they come for essential quality. The pollsters all year had essential quality rated above Knicks Go in terms of this race. The foreign markets have essential quality as a much more bettable 7-2 type price. What price do you think you'd be? I know this is a hard question for this far out, but what price do you start to get a little warm on essential quality, and what price do you think you'd be interested in Max Player?
Yeah, I mean, in a race like this one where it just feels like it's kind of hard to separate, especially the horses that I like. It feels like among essential quality, Hot Rod Charlie, Max Player, who are the 3 I'm sort of focusing on right now. It feels like they could all be similar prices in here, but I just sort of expected the 3-year-olds to be the sort of hot horses. And you're along with Knicks Go. I know Knicks Go is going to get bet because he has figure power. So just the fact that Knicks Go is in here to take money, I actually like because, there's just, I don't want to commit too early, Pete, but I just know there's no way I'm betting that horse in this race. I think he helps as far as the horses that I like. I felt like Max Player was going to be the best price of the 3 that I like. And I can see him being, he would almost have to be probably over 6-1 if I was really going to, just bet him straight up in this race.
I think you might see that. We'll see what happens in the Classic. Mike, fantastic. I appreciate you coming out of your comfort zone to give us these early thoughts. Really look forward to reading all of your coverage. We talked with Brad Free earlier about all the stuff you guys have cooking over at DRF, the Breeders' Cup special package. You're going to be very involved, I presume, in that as well as your normal work.
Yeah, busy week with the Breeders' Cup, as it should be. These are very big races. I know Dan and I will do videos for all the races. I'm going to do some written analysis, sort of short hits for all of the Breeders' Cup races in the paper as well. So you guys will be sick of me in no time with these Breeders' Cup things, but maybe I can get one right.
Check it all out over at drf.com and check out the fantastic work that Mike does on a daily basis with Dan Illman and on his own over there. Truly a voice you should be listening to. Mike Beer, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me, Pete. Good luck.
That's going to do it for this edition of the show. So many thank yous. Let's start with the guests. Brad Free, Mark Cramer, Britney Eurton, Scott Hazelton, Phillip Shelton, Michael Holding, and Mike Beer. I'm going to put the producer AJ thank you right here. He's been a rock these last couple of weeks. Really appreciate all of his contributions over at In the Money Media. Who else? Our founding partners, the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, trfinc.org/players is the place to give and support their fantastic mission, especially their Second Chances program. What an experience that was last week, getting out there to Blackburn Farm with a team of industry people, spending an hour talking to the inmates about how these horses have changed their lives. This is a program that needs expanding, and it's going to take money to do it. That's where you come in. trfinc.org/players. You can even get a bottle of our In the Money whiskey, which is actually kind of a nice winter warmer and not a bad idea. As Nigel Tufnell once said, it makes a great gift too. Check it out. What else do we got? I think that's about it. Oh, I remember. Most of all, I'd like to thank all of you, the listeners and viewers, for making these shows so much fun to do, particularly those of you who have supported us through In the Money Plus. But just by being here, we appreciate it. And if you want to rate, review, and subscribe and do all those things, we appreciate it. In the Money Media over at iTunes, In the Money Media at YouTube as well. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. Our business manager is Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is Jonathan Kitchen. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatel. May you win all your Breeders' Cup photos.